There were two. Yes, it was a faint one. Rotarians and guests, welcome to the November 18th meeting of the Rotary Club of York. Our members are dedicated to service above self and Rotary's four-way test. The opening of today's meeting will feature our club's top brass. Leading us in our song and pledge is President-elect nominee Glenn Miller, and delivering our invocation is President-elect Jackie Summers. Glenn.
Thank you, Madam President. Rotarians, please do not join me. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a word of prayer. Gracious God, we give you thanks and praise for this time together. We're grateful for how you provide for us and enable us to open our hearts to serve in ways that are meaningful and honoring to you. May we stay focused on your objectives that guide our service to the world, to foster peace, tranquility, freedom from oppression, from hunger, from sickness, and may we affirm our commitment to the Rotary four-way test for all we do and support. As we enter this holiday season and consider the year we've lived through, may we approach the holidays with a thankful heart, renewed energy and optimism, and a commitment to service above self. And may we celebrate others in our community who demonstrate that same dedication to service. Please bless our speaker as she shares findings on the effect of the pandemic on our municipalities and helps us better understand its impact on our economy. Please bless this food and the hands who have prepared and served it. For this and all you provide, we are truly grateful. Amen.
Thank you, Jackie and Glenn, and thank you all, also Jackie and Glenn, for your leadership, your wise counsel. It's an honor to serve with you. We have several announcements today and quite a really robust agenda, so let's get on with this. We'd like to thank Les Brandt for his 45 years of service in Rotary. The board of directors accepted with regret the resignation from Les Brandt. He was a member of the Shippensburg Rotary Club for 11 years and this club for 34 years. We thank Les for 45 years of service above self as a dedicated Rotarian and wish you all the best. Some good news for our December 2nd meeting. We have decided that it is in the best interest of providing a better experience for our club members who join us virtually, and that has been averaging about 70 or 80 members, that we will transfer from the GoToWebinar format that Courtney and Josh had deployed early in March to a Zoom format for our meetings. So we will be switching to this platform beginning, as I said, Wednesday, December 2nd. This will provide an enhanced viewing experience and actually a networking opportunity. So the new feature will allow attendees to join the club meeting about a half hour before the meeting begins to socialize and network virtually. So we hope you like it. We're going to give it a whirl, and please give us feedback. You'll be able to sign on at 11:30 a.m. on Wednesdays, and everyone's mic will be muted. This includes Al Sykes at noon when the meeting begins. There are a couple chuckles here, Al. So only speakers will have their mics unmuted. Members and guests need to register, as you always do, to attend the meeting, and recordings of the meeting will also take place and be available online after the meetings. Any questions regarding the Zoom transition can be directed to Ben, our meeting specialist tech guru, and his information is on the screen. No.
It's
We'll
on in every email that comes out every
in
week
every
from the
email.
announcer.
Thank you,
Yep.
Ben. Okay. The Strategic Planning Committee meets today at 1:30. The Youth Exchange Committee will meet tomorrow at noon. There will not be a club meeting next Wednesday, so happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Program suggestions, please send those to past President Program Chair Mike Summers. Our DEI committee, our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, our new committee, their charter was approved by the Board of Directors last Thursday at our board meeting. And congrats to the new Passport Club in our district. And Ben, we have a poll.
That's right. So the poll is going to be coming up right now for everybody who's joining virtually. And that question is, which age group has the largest number of club members? Is it A, under age 50, B, 50 to 59, C, 60 to 69, or D, 70 and over? And feel free to blot out answers in here in the room as well. But those results are coming in right now. We'll give it about 30 seconds here.
C.
Looks
You
like they're
think,
coming in
Jan,
pretty strong.
60 to 69? 50 to 59, okay.
All right, we'll give it about 10 more seconds here. Those results are coming in pretty fast.
So we've had B and C recommended from the room.
Okay. Anybody think otherwise in the room? No? D,
Oh.
okay. There's a new one.
Wow.
All right. Well, we're going to close that poll right now and share those results with you if you're joining virtually. So again, which age group has the largest number of club members? That answer is A, under age 50. So 83. And again, it looks like only 19% of you have responded to that. Most people have said 60 to 69. That's 43% of people online have said that. So looks like most of us are wrong on that one. So there we go, Ann.
Interesting, the perceptions. Well, as a fellow Rotarian said, the truth will prevail. We have a biz spotlight next, and that is child care consultants. I'll wait till Ben gets the screen moved. Thanks, Ben. Child Care Consultants is a nonprofit United Way of York County partner agency whose mission is to ensure that all families have access to affordable, high-quality early childhood education that lead to success in school and in life. Since 1987, Child Care Consultants has helped families find and fund childcare. They have a $90 million budget and serve approximately 25,000 families in early childhood education programs in Adams, Cumberland, Dauphin, Lancaster, Lebanon, Perry, and York counties. They oversee Child Care Works program that helps low-income working families pay for childcare, serving approximately 2,500 York County families each year. The need in our community outpaces the resources to help all eligible families. Typically, eligible families have to wait about 3 months for funding to become available. During this time, they may have to quit their job because they can't pay for care, or they may be forced to leave their child in an unsafe situation. So as you can see, this is a workforce issue. Child Care Consultant greatly appreciates the support of our club this year, which will enable them to provide scholarships to eligible families that are on the waiting list. They are a new recipient of the proceeds of our very successful golf, tennis, croquet, and cornhole fundraiser event. They administer the Keystone Stars, which helps all types of programs, childcare, pre-K counts, preschools, Head Start, improve the quality of childcare they provide. They also provide the Stars services in Center, Juniata, Mifflin, Northumberland, Snyder, and Union counties. This program provides coaching, mentoring, and professional development and resources for early childhood education programs. They partner with area school districts, libraries, and nonprofits to support families and children so they can enter school ready to learn. They're currently working with several school districts on the First 10 model, which is a kindergarten readiness program. They distributed over $25.7 million in 3 rounds of CARES Act funding to approximately 200 York County programs to help programs reopen and meet guidelines related to COVID, as well as secure additional staff to reduce class sizes. As of mid-October, the Department of Health and Human Services, of their 221 programs in York County, 191 have reopened, 21 are closed, and 9 are temporarily closed. So due to COVID, as you are probably aware, many child care centers in York initially closed, and they worked with businesses, child care consultants did, particularly WellSpan, to ensure that essential workers had the child care services they needed. They provide free resource and referral services to families at any economic level and businesses to help their employees find quality child care. And of course, fellow Rotarian Christy Rinjoyan is the executive director. Thank you for that, Christy, and thanks for our club members who facilitate these. And next, I'd like to welcome back up to the podium, past President Josh.
Thank you, President Ann. It's my pleasure to be back here 2 weeks in a row from the podium, specifically because I'm here to induct a new member into our club. And as you know, it's been a little bit few and far between with new members over the last 7 or 8 months. Today's new member, it becomes our third in that time period. So we're a little down on our numbers, but we're doing our best to claw our way back. So today I would like to introduce Sarah White. Sarah is originally from Mississippi, where she attended and graduated from Oak Grove High School. She also earned her bachelor's and master's degrees in English and English literature from the University of Southern Mississippi. Now, Sarah originally came to York to work at York College several years ago, left again, and has now recently come back. So Sarah, it's great to have you back in York. So she formerly worked at York College, but now she is with Charney Investment Group, and she is a financial advisor for Charney. Charney's office is located in Harrisburg, but as you might expect, Sarah has been working from home over the last several months. And it's been an interesting transition for her, learning a new job at the same time not being able to be with her colleagues and coworkers during that training process. So I'm sure some of you might have gone through similar things over this last 8 months with new employees in your places of business. I have done that myself, and there's obviously some learning curve that's associated with that. Sarah's civic activities include she is a mentor in the Developing Leaders program with your college, and her hobbies include gardening, cooking, biking, and reading. She is the proud mother of 2 daughters, Ella, who is 20 and attends Mount Holyoke, although virtually at this point, and Zoe, who is 10 and attends York Country Day School. Her proposer is Rotarian Jeff Vermeulen. Jeff, thank you very much for proposing her. And members, would you help me welcome Sarah as a new member of our club? And Sarah, I do have this certificate welcoming you to the club. And we look forward to getting to know you here a little bit as we both get together here in person and online. So welcome, and we get to look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you, past President Josh, for inducting our new member. Thank you, Jeff, for recommending her. Sarah, we welcome you as a new member today. It's the work of our many committees that really fuel the community impact that our club has. So by joining today, you become a member, but by joining and participating in one of our committees is how you truly become a Rotarian. So we welcome you, and I'm sure many folks would love you to join their committee. I recently learned that in our new member packet, and I imagine, Sarah, you've seen this, that we provide a flyer for the 4-way test. And that what the 4-way test says is, of the things that we think say or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? will be beneficial to all concerned. So we added the four-way test to the top of our board agenda for the Rotary Club of York last week. And I'd like to ask that my fellow committee members consider using that, deploying that, including that in some way, shape, or form in your meeting agendas, just as a reminder and a way to ensure that the focus remains on our founding principles. So thank you very much. And next we have a service above self presentation, Chris Dadar.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to recognize Jamil Alexander for the Charles S. Wolf Service Above Self. Jamil has been an active organizer in our community, especially in helping young people use their voice for change. He is one of the founders of the Confronting Racism Coalition in York and is an active member of the Group Violence Prevention Initiative in York City to prevent gun violence. As a volunteer, he organizes an event at the Appel Center to showcase local talent from communities of color. And he has also helped organize arts-focused rallies and celebrations and African American First Fridays. A native of Philadelphia, Jamil came to York through the criminal justice system. He was placed in a program working with Marantha New Covenant Church, which is a predecessor to Salem Square, and Crispus Attucks. Upon successfully completing the program, Jamil became involved with Crispus Attucks Youth Build program, where he ultimately transitioned to become an employee of Crispus Attucks. Jamil built his career working with youth in the community, helping provide them a voice and a path. While he was working, Jamil also received his associate's degree and then his bachelor's degree. He became a homeowner, met his lovely wife Liz, and became a father of two. And ultimately led him to the Department of Labor consulting with Youth Build USA. It was through this work he found the Aspen Institute and his life's work. His work at Aspen Institute's Forum for Community Solutions focuses on youth engagement and collective impact. Jamil has leveraged this experience in his volunteer work as well. He's been involved in many organizations and efforts focused on giving everyone a voice, whether it's our youth or people of color. As I mentioned previously, he was a founding member of the Confronting Racism Coalition. Jamil is also a member of the advisory committee for the Racial Equity Fund through the York County Community Foundation, and he was nominated for this award by Jane Conover. He is passionate about his work and community, and he does not take any of it for granted. He shared a quote with me about a belief that is close to his heart. To whom much is given, much is required. It is the idea that we cannot keep to ourselves, but we must share our abundant gifts with others. Jamil will say his life experiences have made him blessed. Each day he chooses to spread those blessings to others. For that, we're proud to recognize Jamil with the Charles S. Wolf Service Above Self Award for the impact he's making in our community. And we'd like to let him say a few words. Jamil.
Just so everybody can see my face, but I just want to make sure. Thank you, God, and thank you for this prestigious award. And I literally want to kind of honor my wife and my two children because they've given me the foundation that I need to continue to serve. And service to me has always been about a lifestyle. Whether it be me being young, helping around the house with my mother, rest in peace, or, you know, even in my negative times in the streets, I've always tried to just, you know, be that peer to brothers and sisters growing up to, you know, get better together. And even when I made bad choices and landed me here in York County, community service through the punitive system, as far as a punitive measure through the justice system, literally made me slow down and figure out how I can be intentional and how I show up. And the fact that here we are 7 years later with the Rotary Club who came to Crispus Attucks back in the day, that literally kind of helped me understand this international / community involvement piece, whether it be through everyone. So I want to acknowledge that, but I want to make sure I understand and uplift the fact that, you know, we still have to continue in service. And whether it be my son as a Black man growing in York County and me being nervous as far as how he moves and grows, and my daughter with this virtual learning, my priorities has always started at home with them. So if you don't see me, I'll be around. I'm always continuing in service, but with everything going on, I want to take this, what you all are giving me, and honor my wife, Liz, my son, Nafi, and my daughter, Mia, because with them, they help me to be better. So, muchas gracias.
Congratulations, Jamil, and welcome, Liz. It's an honor to host you today. Thank you, Krista and Jane, for that nomination. Jamil, thank you for bringing your gifts to our community, and the coalition, the Confronting Racism Coalition, I believe, is meeting tomorrow night, right, at 6 p.m. Okay, great. Next, we have a Lend a Hand Holiday Angels announcement from Jeff Vermillion. Jeff.
Thank you, President Ann. Fellow Rotarians, it is hard to believe, but here we are. We're entering the holiday season, and for many, the next 6 weeks or so makes this the most wonderful time of the year. But unfortunately for some, and especially in this historically challenging year, that is simply not going to be the case. And that's where the work of the Lend a Hand Committee comes in as we sponsor, yet again, the Angel Program. This annual effort gives each of us the opportunity to make a child in our community's holiday season a bit brighter than it would have been without our involvement. This year, we are supporting the Cornerstone Youth Home and the Children's Home of York in providing some much needed cheer. The Cornerstone Youth Home is in need of bathrobes for the boys of the home. We have a detail, as well as a toy for each of the boys. We have a detailed toy wish list and robe sizes that will make this year's shopping process much easier for you. If you are interested in purchasing these gifts and delivering them back to Rotary, please contact our committee chair, Tina Rohrbach. Her contact information is on the informational flyer that's on each of your tables, if you're here. And we will have them available in person for those that are joining us over the next few weeks. And of course, Bert can help connect you to Tina as well. These gifts will be collected through January 6th. The Children's Home of York is seeking monetary gifts or $25 gift cards to Target, Walmart, or Amazon so they can purchase gifts for the children that they serve. You may donate at the lobby table here at the club, through the donation button on the website, or of course, you can always ask to be invoiced. We'll be collecting these donations through December 2nd, so please act quickly. Remember, you'll be making a difference in the life of the child this holiday season, and you'll undoubtedly feel good doing it. Thank you.
That's a great tradition, and thank you to Jeff and the committee for bringing smiles to our youngest residents during this time. So next, I would like to invite to the podium the man who sponsored me as a member to join the Rotary Club of York, Tom Donnelly.
Thank you, President Ann, and Rotarians. It's great to be with you today in the room and virtually. And in the room is great. I haven't been here in a while, and it feels safe. It feels spacious. So those of you that haven't been here either, is this where the virtual crowd is, right here looking into that camera? Yeah, come on down. It feels really good. Thank you for motivating me to put on a coat and tie today too. Feels really good. And I'm looking around the room, and Ed, I think we've got one tie on besides mine in the room. So there's company. Oh, here's a tie too. Well, I didn't even see that, Jamil. An ascot, fantastic. So for those who don't want to wear ties, who are not here, you don't have to. So that's great too. So it's my great pleasure to introduce LeeAnne Clayberger, the CEO of the Pennsylvania Economy League Central Division. LeeAnne will be speaking to us on the impact of COVID-19 on municipalities in Pennsylvania, relevant to all of us. I have the pleasure of serving on PEL Central's Board of Directors, along with Rotarian Fred Callahan. It's an organization founded in the 1930s by leading Pennsylvania business people, CEOs, intended to be a good government focused organization, delivering more efficient and effective local government, including school districts. York has a committee and a forum. We're one of 5 communities that have these committees and local forums twice a year on really timely and important topics. If any of you want more information on that, get in touch with one of us after the meeting. You've got my contact information on the Rotary directory. So we'd love to include you, put you on a mailing list, get you to know a little bit more about PEL. Let's talk about LeeAnne for a second, because she goes way beyond PEL with us. LeeAnne has this fantastic York Rotary connection that I was not aware of when I met LeeAnne for the first time by Zoom in March when she joined PEL. And this is our first meeting in person today, LeeAnne. So that's another good reason for you to come back to this meeting. LeeAnne's father was fellow Rotarian Rich Rogers, who a number of you would remember, our regional Boy Scouts executive prior to Ron Gardner. So that was fantastic in itself. And then as LeeAnne and I were getting ready for the meeting, she told me that her first job in high school was working at Central Market. So that's awesome. But then it gets better than that. She became a York Rotary sponsored exchange student in Germany. So when you see LeeAnne here, you're going to see she's an example of the youth leadership and development that we aspire to, and how great to have her back in central Pennsylvania at PEL. LeeAnne graduated from Dallastown High School. She has a Bachelor of Arts from Ohio Wesleyan University and a Master's in Public Administration from Syracuse University's Maxwell School. And in the early 2020s, in the first part of this century, LeeAnne worked as a project manager for PEL before becoming an executive and then a consultant in healthcare in Atlanta. Before moving back, we got her back here now. LeeAnne is married to Damon. Please join me in welcoming our former exchange student, LeeAnne Clayberger.
Thanks, Ben. All right. Okay, so let me make sure I know how to use the clicker. And thank you very much for that warm introduction, Tom. Yes, my roots to York specifically do in fact go way back. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Okay. So, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. It is hard to imagine that it's been 30 years. I was telling Anne and folks at my table that the last time I spoke to the Rotary Club, I was so nervous because I was 16 years old coming back from my trip to Germany, telling, this group about my very profound experiences, right, in Germany. So I'm excited to be back 30 some years later to talk with you guys. I'm trying to figure out where am I pointing it? Okay, so I wanted to talk today a little bit about some recent independent research conducted by the Pennsylvania Economy League. Late summer, we conducted a survey of municipalities to gauge the impacts of COVID-19, or at least the initial impacts of COVID-19. But first, I want to give a little bit about the Pennsylvania Economy League. We are an independent, nonpartisan voice for good government. We're a 501c3 membership organization created, as Tom alluded to, in 1936. So we turn 85 next year. We conduct technical assistance or provide technical assistance and consulting to local government, including municipalities and school districts. We also conduct independent research, such as what I'll be presenting today, on issues impacting PA communities. We do civic education on policies impacting our state, such as a weekly email list that we'd be happy to get you signed up for. We also do regional forums,
This year, of course, we've had to go to virtual, but we do hope to get back to doing regional forums, maybe in addition to virtual in the future. Additionally, we are a trusted advisor to the state legislature and to the administration on issues related to municipal government. Now about the research I'm presenting today. We conducted a survey just after Q2 revenues would have been received by municipalities. We conducted a survey of municipalities to gauge the impact of COVID-19. We collaborated with the municipal associations, including the Municipal League, the Association of Boroughs, Township Commissioners, and Township Supervisors to conduct a short 14-question survey using SurveyMonkey as the tool. And the survey was open from August 31st through September 15th. While we wanted to get the survey out fast, we balanced that with wanting to get early but accurate portrayal of the early impact of COVID. In total, we had 430 surveys completed, 17% of the Commonwealth's 2,560 municipalities, a 17% response rate overall. An interesting fact about Pennsylvania that is not the case elsewhere is that every square inch of the state is actually incorporated. So into some kind of municipal government, whether that's the most rural, most remote part of the state that you can imagine is part of a municipality. The highest response rate we got was from cities and first-class townships, 160% respectively, followed by boroughs, and lastly by second-class townships, which are in general the less populated, more rural parts of our state. The results that I'm going to share are weighted by municipality class in order to be able to make some generalizations at a statewide level. And we had a 21% response from home rule municipalities. We also asked the respondents to identify themselves as either urban, suburban, or rural, to get a sense of the impact by community. We didn't provide them a definition, we just allowed them to self-identify themselves. 13% identified themselves as urban, 41.4% as suburban, and 45.6% identified themselves as rural. After capturing some descriptive information, we have 6 major sections of our survey. One was the challenges from COVID-19, also changes to operation personnel at the municipal level. What was the effect on revenue? What was the effect on expenses? What actions did municipalities take or plan in response to COVID? And what guidance or resources did they either pursue or do they plan to pursue as they respond? Statewide, 31.6% reported that understanding state guidance for stay-at-home orders and the reopening was extremely or very challenging. Nearly half, about 46%, said it was somewhat or slightly challenging. So in total, about 77% said that it was at least slightly challenging to understand the stay-at-home orders and then the reopening phases. This is statewide. Managing public meetings, about 17% said it was extremely or very challenging. 67% said somewhat or slightly challenging. Anecdotally, I will say we really saw municipalities make great strides in improving in this category. What a difficult challenge to do public meetings while doing them virtually and having to deal with something, a new word for probably all of us, Zoom bombing, like what, they had to figure out how to manage that while still keeping their meetings public. About 1/3 reported that managing the budget was not challenging. About 40% reported that managing staff was not challenging. And finally, noteworthy in the midst of a pandemic impacting our health, approximately half of the municipalities reported that keeping fire and EMS volunteers was at least somewhat or slightly challenging. That is sobering to think about in the middle of a health pandemic. More densely populated areas, urban and suburban municipalities, ranked all of the issues as more challenging than did their rural counterparts. That's perhaps not surprising when you think of the array of services that denser populations provide, and also when you think of frankly, the impact of that first phase of COVID really impacted our more densely populated areas the most. We also dug a little bit deeper on how municipalities handled changes to public meetings. Cities and first-class townships were the most likely to report moving meetings to virtual using video conferencing and teleconferencing. Second-class townships were more likely to respond that they implemented social distancing measures or reduced capacity for public meetings. Some other approaches included accepting comments and questions in advance, get around that whole Zoom bombing thing, recording and posting meetings online, holding live stream events, and then a few even reported having outdoor meetings. We also asked what kind of changes municipalities made related to personnel. Not unlike the private sector, municipalities were able to shift much of their workforce to telework where possible. Nearly half reported using work from home or telework arrangements. Other options to protect the health and safety of staff that couldn't work from home included revised schedules, reduce the number of employees working together, reduced hours, or other options such as instead of having two people in one truck driving to a work site, for example, they would have each individual drive their own vehicle. Notably, first-class townships and cities, again, these more densely populated versus rural, reported changes related to personnel. Okay, jumping into the effects of revenue. So early on, what was the impact of COVID on revenue? More than 1/3 actually reported that it was still too early to tell, but about 20% indicated that there was really no change or even an increase in revenue. However, about half, or 45%, just under half, reported a decrease in revenue. Of those, most reported 10% or less of a decrease in revenue. To be honest, PEL and others who work with municipal government, we were a bit surprised by that relatively low result. To be honest, we were anticipating a larger impact on things like the EIT as we watched unemployment rate jump. However, the impact on EIT appears to have been relatively muted thus far. We also asked what were the specific areas of revenue loss. EIT was among the areas of revenue loss, even though muted. Anticipated liquid fuels allocation was next. This is really looking toward 2021 and projected revenue loss. Other items that were indicated as revenue hits were special or general purpose taxes and fees, such as parking fees, park rentals, other fee-based revenue that was, of course, impacted during the stay-at-home phase of the pandemic. About a quarter reported some real estate loss, and about 30% reported anticipated loss of state funds, either pension aids, grants, or shared revenue. And then we asked them what was the impact on their expenses. Mixed bag, to be honest. So we saw about 20% reported a decrease in expenses, 40% really reported no change at all, and the remainder reported some increase in expenses, most less than 10%. The effects on expenses, digging deeper into those, COVID-related equipment and cleaning were the two most reported source of the increased cost. Technology such as video conferencing services, alterations to workspace to put up plexiglass for protection of staff and public, those were also reported fairly highly. At about 40% reported having to implement things like that, which increase their costs. Finally, personnel-related costs are on the far right-hand side of the graph here. From overtime to disability benefits, these were the least reported source of additional expense, at least early on in the pandemic. We were also very curious about the actions taken or being considered in the near term. Over half of all municipalities instituted a spending freeze, something PEL recommended fairly early on, to cut or reduce non-essential expenses. Again, more cities and first-class townships reported taking these kinds of actions. Some municipalities reported other actions such as delaying pension obligation payments, utilizing tax anticipation notes or TANs, obtaining a line of credit. These were reported, each less than 5% of the respondents reported that. However, that does have some long-term implications for those communities that are pursuing that kind of solution. We also wanted to understand, what are municipalities thinking of toward the future? Literally as we speak, municipalities are working on their 2021 budgets, and up in Harrisburg, they're working on the 2021 budget to finish that off for the year. And the majority of municipalities did report seeking out grants or funding opportunities. More than a third that they will reported that they will eliminate or delay capital projects. And a small percentage, but a relatively large number when it comes to state support, indicated that their interest in DCED, the Department of Community and Economic Development programs, such as the Strategic Management Planning Program. That's a program that's designed to help municipalities produce 5-year financial plans and review operations, while a small percent, a total of 38 of the total respondents that we had, expressed an interest in that. Similarly, a small percent, but a relatively large number when it comes to support, indicated interest in the Act 47 program by DCED. And that's a program that's designed for distressed municipalities. There's specific criteria you have to meet. So I don't know if all of these communities meet the criteria, but a total of 23 expressed interest in the Act 47 program. And just as a point of reference, there are 16 in the program currently. So that's a pretty big jump if all of them were to meet the criteria and apply to that program. We wanted to understand, and this was the final question, that we wanted to understand what municipalities, who they turn to for guidance and for assistance. 75% reported that they look to counties for support and assistance, where CARES funds were dispersed. About 70% reported reaching out to their state municipal associations for guidance. And as you can imagine, the state municipal associations were very active in communicating with their communities and understanding pain points. Over half reported interest in reaching out to state government for assistance. Other noteworthy places where individuals were outreaching or communities were outreaching were councils of government, federal agencies, regional planning commissions, as well as chambers of commerce or similar organizations. Combined, about 30% were reaching out to those types of organizations. As with much of the findings, rural municipalities were less likely than urban and suburban to seek much help during the early phases of the pandemic. As I indicated, municipalities are in the middle of their 2021 budget development, and the state legislature is currently working on finalizing the budget for the year as well. We will be watching very closely the 2021 revenue and lingering impacts on local revenue. And it's perhaps not surprising that by the end of summer, the impacts on municipalities was most urgently felt by urban and suburban communities. Again, that's the dense population, that's where COVID hit. As we watch the next phase of COVID impacting our communities right now, it will be interesting to see if that shifts or changes a bit as more municipalities are impacted, unfortunately. At PEL, we will be watching 2021 revenue. Real estate taxes, for example, they were relatively unimpacted in 2020. Some of that may be timing, quite frankly. By March, most of the tax bills were out already. People were paying them. Also, a lot of people pay that through escrow, right? So they're relatively unimpacted in 2020. But 2021, especially when you consider commercial real estate and the way we have all learned to work, the changes in how we work, we are watching the real estate revenue fairly closely. And while a relatively low number reported interest in regionalism, it was interesting that a relatively high number expressed that they were reaching out to councils of government and other regional entities for assistance. So we will be watching that too for potentially some opportunities to encourage communities to consider regionalism. I will briefly wrap up. I left a little flyer, some information, and my business card on the tables. So I think you have my contact information, but you can also get the full report and more information about PEL from pelcentral.org. That's our website. I would encourage you to sign up or give me your business card and I'll sign you up for our weekly brief newsletters that we do once a week. And also that will also get you in the loop in terms of publicizing our issues forums when we are doing those, whether they're virtual or regionally based, so that you can hopefully participate and kind of follow the work that PEL is doing. And I will wrap up just by saying that the survey results are related to the early impact of COVID. We will be watching carefully, along with all of us, right, the second wave and the ongoing impact from the economic impact that is being felt and how that will trickle down to impact municipalities. There's a lot more work to be done. I anticipate we may do follow-up surveys like this to see where we are sort of midway through the COVID pandemic and then toward the end as recovery starts to consider. We'll be watching for trends, best practices, and we'll continue our work with municipalities and with state government to help mitigate the impact of COVID. I will stop there and pause if there are any questions that I can try to help answer. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak.
LeeAnne, I'll give you a question. Can you tell us a little bit more about Act 47? The city of York has talked about that over the years, and I feel like we're closer to that than ever before. Just give the members a little bit of a summary about that. You may want to repeat the question because the virtual attendees.
Sure. So Tom is asking for me to tell you a little bit more about the Act 47 program. That is a program that is funded by DCED, the Department for Community and Economic Development. It's a program for distressed municipalities. So there are very specific criteria you have to meet. I do not have them memorized, but they are looking at severe distress for municipalities. The Economy League does work with distressed municipalities, and we have a handful of communities that we're working with right now. One of the requirements that is in place, I mentioned the STAMP program earlier. That is a predecessor to the Act 47 program, and communities have to go through that STAMP process first. The goal being that that is a less intensive intervention to help communities perhaps bring themselves out of distress or at least stabilize prior to having to go into that Act 47 program. The Act 47 program is a fairly intensive program where you have consultants such as PEL or other entities that do financial consulting for municipalities that are assigned as coordinator in municipalities, and they are responsible for assisting the community. We're currently in the process of helping them reviewing their budgets, making sure that they align with the Act 47 plan for recovery. So it's a very rigorous process that communities apply for. It has some advantages in that you get some ability to modify your taxing structures a bit, which gives you some ability to bring in revenue or change your revenue mix, et cetera. And then it allows you also to just have some assistance from a coordinator in planning your exit and ideally recovery from financial distress. Any other questions?
Yeah. In a way, a follow-up to that. Is there a level of concern about potential bond defaults in Pennsylvania municipalities as a result of revenue loss due to COVID?
The question is there any level of concern around bond defaults? I am not a bond expert, so I don't have a great answer for that. I will say, and we'll continue to watch this and watch how anecdotally the municipalities we work with work, and we talk amongst ourselves, all the Act 47 coordinators and others that do this work kind of communicate with each other. If we're starting to hear about that. We were pleasantly surprised, I think. I'd rather say the sky is falling and have it not fall, that EIT was less impacted than we anticipated. We were doing some projections over the summer and we thought it would be a much higher impact than what we're seeing in communities. Real estate, again, was fairly stable this year. So what will happen in 2021 remains to be seen, but we'll be watching that carefully.
Jane?
Yeah. Do you see this crisis as an opportunity or even a catalyst for maybe legislative action that could help facilitate sustainability of municipalities?
Okay, let me summarize your question. Is this a catalyst for legislative action to help communities or help municipalities? Okay, okay. Okay, so I'm idealist, so yes, I hope so. I mean, I think there is potential for that. I think York and South Central has done some interesting things around regionalism, and I think that that can be a model maybe for elsewhere in the state. And I think getting some resources to maybe support that in other parts of the state would be beneficial for our communities overall. Just more efficient use of government dollars.
LeeAnne, we have 84 of our members tuning in virtually, and a question from them. Will liquid fuels revenue be less in 2021? And if so, what impact will this have on municipalities and infrastructure projects?
Yes, it will be less. So municipalities are going to have to budget around that. The numbers came out recently, earlier this fall, with what the projected 2021 impacts or revenue will be from that. And it will be less. I don't have the exact percentage or anything like that, but that is available already as communities are working through their budgeting process. They are having to schedule or plan around the reduction in those fees.
LeeAnne, does PEL have a perspective on municipal consolidation?
We do.
Can you share that with us?
I can. Yeah, I mean, so they're tough to do. I'll be honest. We're in the middle of working with a community right now, or two communities, on a consolidation study right now. They are complicated. There are a handful of studies that have been done over the years, and a handful of successes, and an awful lot that did not succeed when it got to the ballot. We will kind of continue to pursue those when there are communities that are looking toward consolidating. And often the first step toward consolidating, I've heard it referred to as sort of the courtship before the marriage, is to put together services, whether it's as simple as purchasing agreements, or to shared police, to starting to look at other ways to. Public works is often an opportunity where you're practically crossing boundaries anyway in some of these communities, that you can pool some of those resources, deliver services more efficiently. And that's maybe an initial step toward considering consolidation. But as I mentioned at the beginning, we have a lot of municipalities in the state, and we really like our municipalities. Having lived in other states, it's interesting that is such a feature of Pennsylvania, that there is such resistance to that. But to be honest, there is, but I think that that's an area where maybe some legislative carrots can help encourage some movement in that direction. Anything else? Okay, well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, LeeAnne. Welcome back to our club. And if you were nervous this time, it didn't show. Great presentation. I explained to LeeAnne that in honor of her speaking to our club today, that our club will present a book, and she's signing the book plate. And that book is How Do I Feel by Lizzie Rockwell. That will be presented, Jamil, to the Crispus Attucks Daycare and Early Learning Center Library. All right, next week, there will be no club meeting. Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully there's turkey for the girls and turkey for the boys, and some of you might wear corduroys in honor of Adam Sandler. But we'll meet on December 2nd, and again, that is via Zoom. So log in early to visit with your fellow Rotarians. Our speaker will be Michael Newsom, Governor Tom Wolf's Secretary of the Office of Administration. Mike was a former executive of the Wolf Organization, York Daily Record, and Armstrong World Industries. And he will discuss how his experience as a business person, a private citizen, and a taxpayer have influenced his approach to public service, as well as key initiatives being undertaken by his department to make interacting with government less like, well, interacting with government. So LeeAnne, you're welcome. You may want to tune in with us next week. And just a reminder, the first National Thanksgiving was declared in York. It was declared on November 1st, 1777. And the actual date it was to take place was Thursday, December 18th. Hallmark probably got in there and spread them out for a little more holiday cheer. Anyone like to guess, sorry about the virtual audience, but which signer of the Declaration, the father of the Revolution, was the author of that? The first National Thanksgiving Proclamation. Close? It's from Massachusetts. Keep guessing. That's it, Sam Adams. So you can see this plaque in downtown York. And if you're interested in more, learning more and having some trivia tips for all your shelter-in-place Thanksgivings, you can go to yorkhistorycenter.org to learn more. And it's a terrific time to remember that first National Thanksgiving. And our closing song is The Great Pumpkin Waltz by Vince Girdali. I hope I pronounced that right. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, all. Take care. Giraldi.